The Pori one doesn't make sense though for me, because he claims that he never got paid at all, right? And then in the live he says he actually did get paid like a fee to produce it, and then he expected money after. That's how I understood it. Like once Good peaked, like once it peaked, he expected like Kwesta to say thank you, like a, you know, a token of gratitude.
Sure.
And with Pori, obviously he did his live as well, where he says, yo, token of gratitude, like you had mentioned, 20 nyana, you know, for the song. And when you read Kwesta's tweets, Kwesta's like, okay, sharp, I got what you're saying, but in the same breath, when we were there and we were recording, we were doing it in the name of music. The same way I've jumped on many of your songs as a feature, never charged you for it.
Sure.
Because that's the as pushe type of narrative. But then it becomes blurred lines at some point because...
Depending on whether I pushed and I jumped on your songs and they weren't hits.
Exactly.
And you jumped on mine and they were
was
hits.
a hit, and now you're claiming money.
What's up, everybody? It's the POPcast, and we're bringing you another flaming hot episode next to the flaming hot Fifla. And I'll pass it to the flaming hot Cosmo. If you don't know who Fifla is, she is a DJ that is doing her rounds provincially right here in the Gauteng region. You haven't stepped into the national... provincial colors.
Yeah, no, not yet. I mean, I've had a gig in Durban.
Yeah?
Like, I had 3 gigs in like 1 week, and that was about it. That's as far as I've gone. Like.
But DJ is only like half of Fifla. Can you tell people what you do as a 9 to 5?
Okay, I'm a strategist in advertising. That's my 9 to 5. And then I'm a DJ at night. That's when I crawl out of the office and I hit the decks. Yeah, that's me.
Tell them what you play.
I play hip-hop. Alternative hip-hop, alternative pop, sometimes old school house, and a lot of R&B. And neo soul. Neo soul is like one of my main genres.
Yeah. And she just got herself a new job. She done upgraded from a DJ. Where's the new job at, girl?
3-way every Thursday, 9 to 12 on YFM.
Nice.
Yeah, shout out. So she's our guest for today. A big ups to Fifla for joining us on the POPcast. Also big ups to our venue. We are shooting out in Bryanston. It's a place called Cotton Lounge. Very awesome vibe that happens here on the weekend sometimes. We've also got a really awesome Mokhoru Monday menu. So come check that out. I've actually had it before. It's really dope.
Hey, son.
But of course, we're gonna get the party started.
Yeah, first things first, that Papa Freak Solid Doritos. It is quite symbolic that we should be having Doritos as a person assisting us for these shows, especially this one. Because iyachisa leya namhlanje. And ayichisi ngenxa yokuba sithanda indaba. Ichisa because no matter how far you try and run away from things, the South African entertainment industry it's boiling over into life now.
Yeah.
It's boiling over into life. And there is so much happening on the dramatic side of things that even when you're releasing an album, the noise gets drowned by the drama. Yeah. There were so many albums getting released, but there's so much drama going on. I know KO has a song out.
Yeah.
We'll get into that. Kwesta released an album. Black, he's gearing up for releasing of an album or an EP, I'm not sure which one.
Yeah.
But then on the dramatic side of things, it's Entle Black Coffee. It's AKA and Anele. May her soul rest in peace. It's Prince Kaybee and?
Hazel.
Yeah. And then it's, and this name I didn't want to mention ever since it came out and left the field that it was in and started coming into the field that we are in. Nota and Makwa. Nota and Kwesta. Rap life. Nithi okay bosisi khanincede siqale ngaphi? Khanincede ngoba ngishiselwa inhloko zo.
Hey, Sichisola in Tokonati, because we're also trying to figure out why is everything happening all at the same time. What's in the energy right now? Was there a full moon or what? That's kind of shaking things up. There you go.
There was a full moon and there was a super moon like a couple of, maybe like last week.
Yeah,
there was definitely.
Yeah, you see, and people always say, don't listen to chakra hands. Okay, sure, but when the moon is out, that's when these things start shaking.
Yeah.
But I do think, maybe let's kick it off from a music perspective before we get into the domestics.
Yeah.
Obviously, the big conversation for the past week has been Kwesta releasing his album, God Guluva is out. Go and check it out. I think it's really awesome for him to have released an album 5 years after the Car 2.
Yeah, it's been 5 years.
It's been 5 years. So obviously the music is out. People are still loving the music, but it's so embroiled around all the drama that it's so hard to kind of find what people are feeling about the album, that they're just talking about what's happening behind the scenes, which I think is, it's also just like, I don't know if it's bittersweet, because on one leg it's like, okay, people will listen because it's around the drama, but then it's also like, but there's also people who just need to listen because they just love Kwesta.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
So obviously, if you haven't been on the socials this past week, if you haven't really been paying attention, there has been all the drama around royalties, around the Car 2, what exactly happened around the Car 2, have artists been paid, have people not been paid? Kwesta obviously did an interview last week with Mac G and spoke his truth on there, so there's that incident. I also interviewed him as well last week, Sunday. And we spoke about the album, we spoke about where does he stand as a man with regards to all of these conversations, because not only was he an artist who owes royalties, but he's also a label head, because that's what he was at Rap Life.
Yeah.
So he's still responsible to see to these things being actually paid out. And obviously the week went on where that also included Makwa, where he went to Sampra to actually check which of his royalties actually owed to him, what has been registered, what has not been registered. So people are now saying Kwesta owes Makwa. And Makwa's like, yo, dude, I just want to know where my royalties is at. Whoever owes me, just bring the money. And of course, Nota just making the whole thing into an avalanche when it could have easily been dealt with behind the scenes. So it's a tricky situation, but like I said, the album is really awesome. One thing that I can note, obviously with this whole drama, is he said, she said. Basically, the understanding that I have around it is that when these guys first started recording music, obviously you need a company to kind of register with certain places. So the understanding I have is that at the time, the only person who had a company registered was Nota, and that was Urbantainment. And music was then registered or taken to Sony for the licensing deal under Urbantainment. And with Kwesta, he was just like, yo, guys, sonke siyapusha, let's just move forward. We'll deal with the legalities later. And I think that's where the cookie crumbled. Do you know what I mean? And because now we're progressing, now it's successful, now there's money, now it's okay, sesiyabangana, because we're no longer pushing. Says pushile, imali ngenile. Now it's who actually gets the bigger piece of the pie, who actually gets the pie, who actually owns the masters of the music. Because if it was registered under Urbantainment, how much of that is then owed to Kwesta? That's another big question that's at hand. And it's also speaking true, and I'm actually excited because we recorded an episode of Pop Radio with Munya from Sony.
Remember.
So hopefully that's going to come through in the next couple of weeks. Make sure you look out for it. I think that's going to break down a little bit about this conversation.
Yeah. And the conversation also like ties into another thing we forgot to mention, which is the Maporisa talk.
Yeah.
You know? And I don't think there'll be a podcast or a music show in South A. They will never deal with those. How many times have we dealt with publishing?
Yeah.
How many times have we dealt with contracts? How many times have we dealt with management? How many times have we dealt with representation on the show? And every time we speak on it, as a person, I feel like we're being repetitive because we've said it so many times. But when each situation is in Jena arise, Oyabona or Guti, we have not covered this thing enough.
The Polish one doesn't make sense though for me, because he claims that he never got paid at all, right? And then in the live, he says he actually did get paid like a fee to produce it, and then he expected money after. That's how I understood it. Like once once it peaked, he expected like Kwesta to say thank you, like a token of gratitude.
Sure, and that's in the contracts in terms of, am I paying you to make a song once off Or am I paying you a percentage and you're also going to get a point on the song so you can get paid every time it's played or whatever. Again, boiling down to those things that we hate, but we contracts.
And it's unfortunate because, and you find that this happens a lot in business, and it's not only in music, and I think that's why it's important for us to talk about it. You come together as friends, you have the same mind, you have the same ideas, you're like, no, let's do it together, let's hustle because we're homies, we're trying to put each other on. And that's where the narrative gets broken down because you're operating as homies. Where are the contracts? Because at some point you need to hold your friends to task. And that's where I feel like as Black people, we need to also sit back and say, yo, yes, you can push, you can support each other, you can say, yo, mina namajita, let's go, let's do this thing. But please, contracts are so important because this is what happens in the long run. You know what I mean? And with Pori, obviously he did his live as well where he says, yo, token of gratitude, like you had mentioned, 20 nyana, you know, for the song. And when you read Kwesta's tweets, Kwesta's like, okay, sharp, I got what you're saying, but in the same breath, when we were there and we were recording, we were doing it in the name of music. The same way I've jumped on many of your songs as a feature, never charged you for it.
Sure.
Because that's the as pushe type of narrative. But then it becomes blurred lines at some point because...
Depending on whether I pushed and I jumped on your songs and they weren't hits.
Exactly.
And you jumped on mine and they
and
were
was
hits.
a hit. And now you're claiming money.
And that's a lot of that he say, she say narrative.
Exactly.
Where you can't decipher like what's real and what's not. And for the sake of people to get RTs, to get following or whatever, people come on social media and say... They become other characters, and it's so hard to like say who's telling the truth, you know.
Yeah.
And you never want to just sneak. The narrative has always been that the people that make the music don't get the money, or the artist. When it comes to a label, the artist is always at the label's always at fault when it comes to an artist. Sometimes maybe we're the problem. You know what I mean? We also mustn't. I think we've, for a long time, also just blamed the stronger and more financially viable parties, even sometimes when they're not at fault. It's just a narrative that's easy to follow. Yeah. And that has caused Amajita to not get their things together. Yeah. Because they know that if it all breaks down at the end of the day, all I have to do is scream label or scream this person and people will believe me. Therefore, I can cover my wrongdoing or cover my ignorance or cover my movement in a way that wasn't wise in the situation. So, I again.
So Fifla, when you guys interviewed him on why, did he elaborate a little bit more? Because at the point when I had spoken to him, which was the Sunday before, he was still very like PC about things and still kind of carrying the same thing. Yoguti, rather get us all in a room, we'll hash it out, we'll talk, we'll do what we need to do. But at this point, he just wants to talk about the music. But then a lot of drama happened over the week, and you obviously interviewed him on then the Thursday,
where he was trending.
So now, obviously, emotions are now coming in. How was he feeling on that episode? Oh, well, the show.
Yeah, so our approach was to actually focus on the album. We had listened to it, we reviewed it, we asked him questions about that because I'm pretty sure he's tired of like everyone interviewing him, asking him about the whole Nota and Makwa drama. So we focused in the first hour, well, in the first 30 minutes, we focused on that. And then in the last 30 minutes, we tried to get into, you know, the Nota.
Because you can't leave the spies behind.
And he was just like, guys, I say what I said. Go check my Twitter. Go check my timeline. Like, it's enough. Like, I'm actually so tired of, like, discussing this whole matter. And I understood because he's like, listen, I've made my mistakes in the past, which is fair, guys. You know, he took accountability. And he's like, I'm trying to rectify that. But now, how do we rectify it when there's so much noise on Twitter, and we haven't even been given a platform, as in him, Nota, and Makwa, to actually discuss this and have a mediator actually, you know, regulate the conversation and stuff. Because he's like, he's waiting for the day that happens, which is fair.
Yeah, and that's the problem, is that it will continuously be a he said, she said story until everybody is in one place to defend themselves. Because what it happens now, it becomes broken telephone. This person says this, and it's like, I'm defending, but then you add your own spice. And that's the thing, is that you'll add some fact, but because it's embroiled in the spice, you don't know what's the truth, what's not the truth. And that's what the issue is now. That's why it's becoming a bigger, this thing is just becoming one big film, you know what I mean? And one point that I wanted to raise, which I felt was really sad, a listener called in on Sunday and said, yo, Kwesta, you know, I'm so glad the album is out. It's been 5 years. You haven't released music, but you've been releasing all of these singles throughout. What happened to all the international features? Because he had done a lot of work with the Rick Rosses. There was obviously talk about the Tory Lanez feature as well, which everybody was kind of waiting to be like, it's going to be on the album. It's going to be on the album. Album is out, that music's not there. And Kwesta was just like, hey, you know what? The music is there. Unfortunately, because all of those relationships and all of those collaborations were done when he was still with the guys, he didn't want to put that music on the new album because now it's going to be who actually owns the rights to those songs for him to be putting it on the album. And it's tricky because those features were paid for. So now it's like money was spent, you know, relationships were created for nothing. Now he can't. Now that content is just sitting there, gonna get stale. We don't even know. That song with Tory Lanez could have been the next Ngutu, and now we're not even gonna hear it.
Feel you.
It's so painful. And obviously, then there was a situation with Makwa, where Makwa is now sitting back and he's saying, "Yo, where can I get my royalties?" And the fact that nothing has been registered at the likes of Sam Pra. Well, I'm not too sure because he didn't mention Sam Rowe. But with Sam Pra, he's only got 8 songs that have been registered where he's actually a composer on the song, which is also speaks to the fact that like contracts, not necessarily contracts, but just actual admin isn't being adhered to when it comes to music.
Yeah.
And I don't know what needs to be done, what education needs to be had for people to kind of follow up on things like that. It's quite sad.
I was actually, I was talking to a friend of mine. We were developing a concept. And while we were developing this concept, I said to my friend, well, the concept's already approved. We were just doing a running order of how the thing is going to go. And the corporate was telling us to write everything down from start to finish. And I must write my script down. And I must give them visuals. I'm not gonna lie, the black guy inside of me was like, I know what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
If you don't know, why must I write it? You know? And then my friend who was sitting next to me, who's actually younger than me, and he is my production designer guy, he's the one who's gonna do the set. He's like, you know what, Scoop, you should be glad that they are asking you to do this thing because this is where white people beat us. When I had a conversation with a white person on set, they told me like, you have a great future, but I'm going to tell you one thing you need to know. Oh, it actually wasn't a white person, it was a black guy who owns his own gallery. Banele calls us this black guy's name, who owns his own gallery. And Banele told this kid, these guys, the number one thing in business is administration, is paperwork. If you don't have that on lock, you're not going to go nowhere. So it's the one thing that is foreign to us.
Yeah.
Even the ones that do know. I mean, dude, I hate paperwork. Do you know what I mean? Okay, get somebody who knows how to handle it. But that's also the problem. Sometimes you get someone and they run with everything. You just need to know. And it's if we are going to move forward and achieve new goals and achieve new heights in this music thing, if we don't take care of this thing of paperwork and administration, yeah, we're gonna be in trouble.
But sometimes people feel like they don't have the resources, the necessary resources or access to like entertainment lawyers and stuff. And the moment they start thinking about that stuff, it's already expensive, right? Yeah. It blocks that whole thing. So they think they can do it themselves. It happens also with DJs. Like a lot of DJs don't have entertainment lawyers to help them out, to put the paperwork together. Because you're just like, let me just go behind the decks, let me play, and then get my check, and then run out, you know?
It's tough, man. So it's really, really tough.
It's a very difficult conversation. But like I mentioned, that pop radio episode, I think, explains it to a lot more detail with how we can manage this thing. Hopefully it will be up next week, Tuesday. So please do check it out with Munya Chanyetsa. He's from Sony. He literally breaks down how this thing must be managed from the moment you're in the studio, vibing it out, all the way through to the paperwork. Please make sure you check it out next week, Tuesday.
Showcase. The next one that is musically inclined is the release of, like, let's talk about the Kwesta album.
Yeah.
It was, I'll be honest, like, it was so difficult for me to listen to it.
Really?
No, not because the music is whatever, but because I'm, in my head, every word and every rhyme, I'm just trying to think of what he's going through in the situation. Yeah. I just couldn't remove myself from that. When I did listen to it, I loved the intro. I love that he would
With
put,
Yanga.
with Yanga, yeah? That you would put someone other than yourself on an intro of a song. I love the messaging.
Yeah.
You know? And then just listening to the songs, he's obviously reached a point where now he realizes that I've pleased I started off rapping in English. They had something to say about that. I achieved it in vernacular. They had something to say about that. At the height of my success, my foundation fell apart. But it doesn't just happen while I'm just a guy on the come up. It happens while I'm at the pinnacle with a wife and 2 kids. I'm a man raising daughters in South Africa. I'm in a genre that doesn't want to even confront positivity and positive things. It was dope to hear him like say all these things.
Yeah.
And I just really, really feel for the South African hip-hop artist that is maturing.
Yeah.
It is so difficult for South African hip-hop artists that is maturing to do what he wants to do. We are going to be here in these seats. Those cameras are going to be looking at us. Those comments are going to be there. His conscience is talking. It's just difficult. It's just really difficult. And shout outs to everybody that's still here and still doing their thing. And like when you listen to it, you just know that this is for the people that can get it, that can understand it.
Yeah.
I don't know if there are many young kids that are going to gravitate towards it. I think it's going to need young kids with an old soul.
Yeah.
And I love that he didn't trade that part of him away. So, yeah, man.
Yeah.
And obviously the title, right? God Guluva. Ghost of the car. Right? That's crazy. That's also like crazy. You can read what you want to read into it. I love the artwork. I did have a talk to him with him at Nelson Studio. I think that's who also did that artwork. I'm very happy and I'm very proud of him for the road he's walking. I know it mustn't be easy.
Yeah. Talking to that, I think I've also listened to the album, definitely far more mature than we had expected. And I think also because it's 5 years after the Car 2, there was a lot of anticipation about the music. And there was a lot of like, okay, is he gonna give us another hit album? Because that album, it literally shot the roof off, you know?
Yeah.
And I do think it was obviously all the plans he had for the next album obviously had to then take a back seat. He had to then go back to studio and re-record in this new space that he's in. You know, so you're not getting the car that he had initially planned for the Car 3, but now you're just getting the mature married guy, 2 kids. I'm not about this BS. I'm dealing with my today now, and this is who I am.
Is
going
it almost
forward.
like Drake before he released Scorpio and then Pusha T came through and
and then had to switch the whole game up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's how life works. That's how music works.
Because he didn't foresee this coming.
Because music is emotional. You know what I mean? But I love that he still got all of his boys on the album. I love that he brought back Tupsi as well. And it also just shows that he's a guy of relationships. He's a guy of look, the homies are still my homies. Let's get to the music. That's what matters. Makwa's still on the production credits. So this whole drama, I think, can be dealt with. But like I said, please, let's just do it off air. Because this thing of lives and people coming to people's houses, unnecessary.
Showcase.
Let's let it go.
From an execution perspective as well, he really thought it out. Like, he thought out the whole thing. So in the beginning, the first half of the album, it's just him, like, venting, letting everything out, and then it gets lighter. And then everything else is like a party type of anthem. You know what I mean? And then also...
And then that love letter at the end of the album, who I am.
And then the pop-up stores, Kwakok, and got the whole, and the drip, the merch.
That the pop-up stores
and he also spoke about how he went to Harties. He recorded this album in Harties and he took everyone there, Reason, Folk, and he's like, these are guys he chills with. So it was easy for him to record those songs and like include those features on the album, you know. And I don't think a lot of South African artists understand the importance of actually leaving Joburg for a bit. To like get a different perspective. You can't be rapping about bottles and the club and the... It's just like, you'll be tired now. Like, every single year. No, so I think I like that he did that. something different. It's cool.
Yeah.
It's like a rebirth for real. Like
Gogo's house has seen the most, ne?
Hey, I'm on Rick Ross.
Pop-up
It's a
show.
young
Spirit music video. Nabo wale bonke. Hey, uKoko wabantu shem ngiyamzwela. Happy Mother's Day to uKoko bonke.
Oh, wow. Yeah, we forgot about that, bro. Like, for real. Yo, yabonakala indoda isahlala nge-old late layo. Say, yabonakala. Yeah, happy Mother's Day to everybody out there that is a mom, that is going to be a mom. Shout outs to old lady. I know she does watch the show when she catches the time, so ngosika cool old lady.
Yeah.
You guys?
What? Are we mothers?
No, man. You have mothers and grandmothers.
I thought maybe you were asking.
No, maybe you want to say something. Maybe you are flaming hot with anticipation and expectation.
No, not as yet.
Okay.
But happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. I think for me, it's also a new situation because I live with my sister who just had a child. So now I'm experiencing motherhood from like the actual birth of a little child to where we are now. And I'm seemingly like mom number 2 because when she's at work, I'm having to look after the little guy. So they go through a lot. You need to let's just appreciate our moms. Yeah. My sister sometimes has to work like a full-time job and she's awake at 3 in the morning entertaining a child who doesn't want to sleep. So it's a lot. Please.
wouldn't be me.
Oh, God, bro.
Dude.
I'm not lying, bro. Like, no lie.
Yeah, so I'm seeing it from a whole different light. There's my mom's appreciation and now I'm appreciating my sister a lot more. So big ups to all the moms, you know? Fee?
Happy Mother's Day, ma. I love you.
That's it. All right, let's move on.
Let's move on. I haven't heard the KO.
shout out.
I just saw a video. Have you guys heard the new KO?
I have heard it. Yes,
Yeah.
I have heard it.
Fire.
Yeah?
I love it.
Yeah?
Very catchy.
Yeah.
Also tapping back into what? Kona Balambile, like a primary school. We used to say that a lot in primary school. So shout out.
And I heard the name is Kova on some K-Hova.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that a lot. So yeah, I'm very interested to see it. How are the visuals? I didn't see the. Have you seen the video?
No.
I haven't checked it out either. But what I'm enjoying about KO is he's sticking to his guns.
Yes.
He's like, I'm a Skanda God. I'm going to be Skanda forever.
Yes.
You know? And he's not trying to sway from that. And I dig the fact that he's because someone has to stay in the lane. You know what I mean? Like, yes, we understand things are changing. Music is changing. Piano's coming in. It's also influencing hip hop here and there, which is great. I'm just appreciating the fact that there's somebody who's still like, I see you, but this is where I am and I'm staying here.
No
you know
doubt.
what I mean? So I'm digging that about KO and I'm really excited to hear what his new album's going to sound like.
And you've got to do that, you know? You've got to stick to your guns. And I'll mention like a guy like Jay-Z, bro. He has a line on Blueprint 2 when he was just saying that even a garbage can gets a steak. Even a broken clock is right at least 2 times a day. So, ungumuntu, if you are set to be on your time, uhlale kweso sikhathi sakho ube u-3 o'clock, when everybody's moving to 4, 5, 6, 7, fine, let them do that. But 2 times a day, the groove will be on you.
Yeah.
And it'll be up to you what you do with it.
Yeah.
So, you know, even like with the Kwesta, even like with the KO, yes, my niggas, you have matured and gotten older. You could try and rap like these kids, but that will sound funny. It's almost like when these American guys try dress young.
Yeah.
You know, like there's these old American dudes with braids. Like, how about French Montana? How about Jim Jones?
Yeah.
You're like, dog. No, bro. You know, shout out to Luda for getting old gracefully. But some of these dudes, hip-hop just doesn't allow you to get older. And even with Jay, like a lot of people don't hear what he's saying now, even though he's saying a lot. They don't hear him.
And I feel like he's saying a lot more now.
He's saying a lot more now
than he did before.
Then.
Yeah.
Yabo, but abamuva ngoba bafuna lamjita uzawuzana la vibe wazenayo ngogo, but usekhulile and he's sticking to that gun. So shout outs to KO for doing that as well. Because also what happens is sooner or later, you just get better at this thing and a new flow develops.
Yeah.
A new rhyme scheme develops because you've been sticking with this one for so long. It evolves to something else naturally. So I can't wait to hear it. Yeah.
All right, so moving on to more spicier news. Somebody else who trended this past week, Prince Kaybee, who was the model citizen in his relationship. and spoke out quite often about men treat your women rights. Look at me, I have a queen, I've been dating my lady for so long. We're happy, we're basically, you know, the king and queen of this relationship thing. What's it? Screenshots. Conversations dating back 5 years. So obviously that came out where his other girlfriend came out. Obviously there was a tiff because why? This is so random for it to come out at this point in the game. But she's obviously been with him on the side situation for the past 5 years. So much so that she posted screen grabs of their relationship, the conversations, everything that started from Instagram all the way through to WhatsApp messages. And then she even leaked a picture.
What kind of picture?
It's a nude picture.
And now she's serving time.
She's serving
4 years.
No, man, Fifla, don't play with us.
They said it's 4 years. I read an article. I read a few articles that they said she's going to be serving 4 years.
So has she been arrested or was there
I don't know if she's been arrested yet, but he did lay charges against her. Revenge porn.
Yes. So
it's a thing.
It is a thing. I think it's also a very important thing because when people argue, I mean, when you send each other, you know, you're in a relationship, you're trying to spice things up, you send a young something, you know, you're obviously trying to keep the spark alive in the relationship. And then when things turn around and you say, I'm going to show this person, Gutsi, I'm the one. And unfortunately, when a breakup happens, please don't do this thing. Ladies, that's the one time I'm actually going to be like, this is actually screwed up. You shouldn't be doing this. Because when it was nice to get those pictures and to send them. Because I'm sure for him to send a picture, she might have sent her something. But he's keeping her pictures because he understands the situation, how serious it is, because you actually can get charged for it. It's revenge porn. At the end of the day, that shouldn't be sent out, you know what I mean? Even though he was wrong in whatever situation for the relationship to go sour, I still commend him for laying charges because that is a violation of privacy.
Agreed.
That shouldn't be sent out. You know what I mean? And I'm actually surprised. I didn't realize that it was a court case that had been finalized. But the fact that you get 4 years, that's a long time.
I actually feel so bad for it as well, but like, she does need to learn her lesson.
I feel bad for her.
No, like she's an up and coming piano DJ, you know? So she started to peak in her career, but at the same time, she does need to learn her lesson.
Yeah.
You know? Like, she needs to go through this. And she does need to get punished for it.
4 years of your life for just sending out a picture.
And she was emotional and angry over whatever happened in the relationship. Look, at the end of the day, I think that's what we're learning about social media.
Yeah.
What we're learning about social media is having to understand that there are implications at the end of the day. You can be emotional, you can fight, you can cry. We're all human. We all go through that. Everybody gets through a point where you're just like, I want to mess with this person because they hurt me. Sometimes you have to just sit back and cool down and just kind of then think it through, and then you can see. I actually read a quote this past weekend where somebody said, when water's boiling and you see the steam, you can't see your reflection in the steam because when you're angered, you're steaming up. But the moment it cools off, you can see your reflection in the cool water. So just wait for it to cool down before you go at it.
Don't know how to act.
That's why social media is teaching us the hard way. 4 years, baby girl.
Now look.
Right?
It's a mess. It's a mess.
All right. Also,
can I also, sorry, because I just wanted to touch on, we hardly speak about Cape Town enough. And youngster CPT has been quietly, again, obviously, between him, Dikuala. Is there anyone else from Cape Town I'm forgetting? Look at Ups. He's coming in. Look at Ups from Cape Town, right? He's coming in slowly. But I mean, when we talk about Cape Town, those are the two people that are shining a light. Dikuala is actually doing something that's also unprecedented in the way that this girl hardly releases music. Hardly. Yeah. She's got like a Rihanna Navy army following going on.
Yeah.
Shout outs to that.
I'm part of that.
And she's right?
Yeah,
she's like such a Kasi diva.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I see what she's doing there in the following that she's garnering. Shout outs to her for that. Youngster did something that was dope. He obviously has YGen, the shop. Then he has the apparel. He did one chess move better. And in making the apparel available to Street Fever, which is a chain store across the country. But I think he started it maybe in Cape Town, and in Port Elizabeth. I know that there are street fevers, like they following us galore there. So he was opening up the shops, and in the light of what Batu has been doing with Somizi, or maybe Ricky did at Mall of Africa with the Cotton Fest merch, he had a stampede of people out in the mall to just, and the thing is this, right? It was just colored people.
Oh.
Because the colored narrative is sometimes not told, and if it is told, it just gets told by youngster, and we don't feel like we need to shed light on it or share in it because maybe we're distant from it. But I just wanted to make him sure that he's a part of this hip-hop family and rope him in and tell him that we're very happy and we see what you are doing with your community and your region of South Africa with this hip-hop thing, the messages you spread, what you do with the remuneration you get from this music, the entrepreneurship you display in being able to maintain yourself as this independent artist, spreading the messages it's spreading. Shout outs to the people that are also supporting you from your hometown and around the country. I saw that footage and I was like, shit, man, we need to talk about this just to salute.
Yeah, shout outs to youngster, man. And like you're mentioning, sometimes we don't necessarily give them the love or shed the light, like you're mentioning, to the colored community. And I think I feel it also the most when I do go out to Cape Town. Guti, actually, he's like, you know, he's the representer. He's the guy who basically says, yo, we also have a voice. We also want to be heard. And I think that's why it's so important for him to stay in Cape Town. Because I do think things might get a little bit shaky if he does decide to leave. And because his whole music and his narrative is around you know, pushing the culture forward, he needs to be within it, which is what I love even with D, because even though D is also doing really big things with corporates here in Joburg, she constantly says, you can fly me out, I'll be available on Tuesday, as long as I go back to Cape Town on Wednesday. You know, I love the fact that they're sticking to their guns about staying in Cape Town, because for me, it's about that touch base situation to still be able to be with your people 100% of the time, to make sure that they feel like they're heard and their voice is out there as well.
No doubt.
So youngster, we see you, man. I dig that.
Showcase.
Talking to music and heritage and representing a certain culture. A conversation I was also kind of thinking about was how in as far are we actually documenting hip-hop history? And I say that off of the back of the Apartheid Museum is actually closing. And obviously that's a bigger conversation. It could be COVID, it could be finances.
It was COVID,
but I also feel it's just us not visiting the museums. You know what I mean? COVID obviously just made it worse. But how often are we actually going to museums? Us being at Museum Africa some weeks back to go and record at the SA Hip Hop Museum, for me also just felt like a little bit of a flashback. Because when I walked into the building, I was like, yo, I haven't walked in here in so long.
Did they actually rebuild it? Because I remember the last time they broke in and they vandalized the hip-hop section in Museum Africa. If that's what you're talking about. Yeah. I was making them had to rebuild, if I'm not mistaken.
They were restructuring it when we got there. It was actually like some piping that went wrong in the place. It watered the spot down. They had to like move things out. But they were in the process of rebuilding when we were shooting. But they kept most of the artifacts.
Oh, okay.
So for me, it's just a question of how far in are we actually documenting our own history? Because people might look at it as just music, but for us, it's a culture. For us, it's a day, it's a lifestyle. It's our everyday. And are we actually putting together the information and putting together the footage that we should be putting together so that people learn from where we come from, so they can also then do better? And I don't know, like I know some people carry around videographers, but where does that footage go? Would we have to then submit that to like a TV station? I'm not too sure. How are you feeling about it?
Man. I know there was a lot of people shooting, man. People shot during Black Sunday. People were shooting people shoot all the time. I never know where the footage goes. You know? There's always people calling you up on some, I'm busy with a documentary. There have been documentaries that have been released covering from some year to some year.
MTV had the Cosmo one.
MTV had the Cosmo. No, we're just speaking like just purely hip-hop.
Just purely hip-hop.
From
my hip-hop.
SABC One had one that they put out. There's always someone shooting something, but it never comes out. And there were a lot of people shooting even back in the day, but Andiazle footage, and people have to move. Those arguments about who owns what, it always goes sour. But I mean, to be honest, I don't think we do a good job because if you look at the States, I mean, you know, YouTube in America, you can find the wackest document pieced together by some footage and some narrative. You know, I don't think we do a good job. We wait for someone to give us money to do it. We never do it just to do it, then think it might be something that we can earn money from. You look at Kanye West now, 31 years of documentation about to get given to Netflix, you know, for a big sum of money. So we don't have to also think about it like something for now. You can think about it something for years to come, but it's not something we are good at. I know, Selu for me, Nanje.
I'm seeing a lot of these young creatives recording a lot of footage.
Yes.
Right? In terms of the new movement. I don't know what to call this new trap that these kids make.
Yeah.
But they're recording that, but like, I think no one's helping them out, or like, they need like a scoop who has knowledge, you know, on how to get there.
They do have cameras, crews, and whatever. But when I met them, I gave them a visual treatment of what should happen. And I even say to them, you don't have to pay me.
Yeah.
Just call me. This is what we should do. They never do. They never do. I don't know whether maybe sometimes it might be people around them or it might be the labels that they're involved in, whatever. But me, dog, especially if I see talent in an artist, because also with me, everything is visual.
Yeah.
So when I hear the then I see the then I'll meet the then I'll be like, I've got this whole blueprint till he's 30.
Yeah.
Then I'll give him the first one just to see, should I give you the full who? But they never even call for the first one. And I'm not saying it's their fault. I'm not saying they're wrong for it because maybe sometimes they're like, I want to go about it myself. Cool. But I'm just saying that it does happen.
Okay. Don't you feel also sometimes it's because sometimes even with artists, because they only think about the music, they're thinking it's just about, let's just get these tracks out. And they're not thinking visually. You're a visual person because that's who you have become. And everything is always about the aesthetics and how we can put that out. But I don't think they think full scope. They just think, let's get these raps down and send the email.
And if they're thinking like that, then sorry, Majida, because every artist they are watching, all the money they spend on gigs on the net, they are watching their favorite artist's footage. Yet they want to be like that artist, but they only want to concentrate on the music. Then that, my is your fault. Then you are the one being dumb, not signing contracts, and not recognizing the terrain and the atmosphere of the game. And especially if I'm going to be there, and I literally say, like, I'll do it for free. For like a year, let me give you a visual treatment for free. If it works, obviously after a year, because you'll be selling more, you'll be touring internationally, because I'm going to give you a global outlook. But I have not had an artist that has said, yo, yeah, let's do that.
I think a lot of people don't understand that you have to lose money and you have to invest so much money into to make something like, to get it back. It's like when you start DJing, you buy like CDJs or DDJs and you're not getting booked a lot, but you're like, I'm practicing. So it's an investment. So they're not seeing this as an investment. And I guess it's also not being sold to them as an investment. I don't know how, because I mean, if they're going, like you're saying, if they're going on YouTube watching their favorite artists' visuals, that should push them enough to be like, okay, let me put this 10K I saved and put it back into recording. I don't know. It's those,
it's tricky times. But
the Apartheid Museum I'm mad about because whether COVID or not, blood has been spilled in this country. For this country to be where it's at, even in its financial whatever, if people can progress financially because of politics, people in politics and people outside of them, if we pay taxes, the Apartheid Museum is as much as a part of this country as taxes are. So if we pay taxes, the Apartheid Museum has got to be there. Because we've got kids that are growing up. Where are they going to learn about this thing? Where are they going to, in their own country? Because if they have to see it on YouTube, if they have to travel to other places to hear about this thing, then the people that are running the country, which is quite odd, are saying that the thing that happened in this country is not important to where this country is. But yet, we haven't changed governments. The same government who fought for this thing is running the country. So what is really going on?
Hey, there's suspensions and suspensions that are happening. One person says, oh, I see you. Yeah. That's what is taking precedence over the importance of our artifacts. And I hear you. I'm with you 100%. I do feel something as important as the Apartheid Museum Africa need to be preserved because that is who we are. How are we supposed to teach if we don't have a place for us to visually go and represent that? Yeah. There's only so much you can learn in a textbook.
Showcase.
But when you go and see...
Even for you, like I've been to the Apartheid Museum many times. And when you go in there, you realize that, okay, sharp, you know. But to see it again, because any one of those people that gets hit could be your granny, could be your, you know what I mean? Could be a relative of some sort. You just, when you got to see it every time, it reminded you of what you need to do. Not in terms of hate as a South African, but in terms of being the most excellent Black person you can be to show that whatever those people thought in those years were ultimately like so wrong. It always kept the fire burning inside you. Not, of course, even there wasn't a fire of hate. It was always just a fire of disappointment. Like, it's like oh, we still live in a country and I still have to go through this when so much has happened before, you know? But yeah, I don't think it should go away, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. All right, so I just wanted to say thank you to our guest for joining us today.
Yeah, man.
Fifla came through. She, obviously, you can check her out on YFM. She's on The Three-Way.
Yeah.
She a radio presenter now. She ain't no more DJ. Scoop used to talk about you every time. He'd be like, yo, Fifla's the best DJ out here. You know?
I mean, you really have to say no, Fifla. I don't know if it's national yet. It's definitely provincial for now.
Yeah,
it's like the Gauteng region, one. But national, you have to come, Pella. Once you get that, once you get a cup, then
I'm manifesting.
You manifest.
I'm manifesting.
It's coming.
Where can people catch you? Where can they follow you?
Follow me on Twitter, Instagram. It's Fif_Laaa, AAA, please. Yeah, and then, just Twitter and Instagram, really.
Yeah, man.
Today was a tough one. Today was tough. Like,
today was definitely tough.
Today was, and you know, the thing is about it also, I just feel like it's only just beginning. What we talked about today and the things, it was only just beginning. Like,
and sometimes all we have to do is start.
Nah?
All we have to do is start.
Yeah, today was tough.
All right, stick around. We still got the thread count as well as the social don't coming up. Right here on the POPcast. So we've had a very serious episode. So I decided, you know what, for the social tone, you know, let's kind of bring the spice back just a little bit and do something a little lighthearted. Something that I didn't actually realize was trending as much as I did before this past week. A certain Spidey who was actually crawling on everybody's timelines this past week. I'm not too sure if you had noticed it, but I definitely noticed it. So much so that I actually went out this past weekend and I saw Spider-Man in the flesh. Spider-Man is definitely doing the most. Whether you are hiring him for your kids' parties or whether he's actually just out there trying to grab a bottle and do the most, I don't think this one needs to be taken for the children. PG-18 maybe, huh?
All right, cool. It is a thread count brought to you by Flamin Hot Doritos. This is, actually, let me tell you later. I wanted to really start off this thread count. I said this earlier and I'll say it again. It's really becoming increasingly difficult to get South African designers that are able to produce within season. It's easier when we're doing spring, summer, autumn, but it gets a little bit tricky in winter. So the clothing that I have now will be, you know, geared to the winter a little bit. I wanted to start off with a brand that I showed last week, but I didn't do it justice because this suit just needs to be shown by its fullness. Desire Piece by Billy Lifestyle. I started off with the pants last week. I'm loving this because I'm doing a lot of camping all of a sudden, and I'm doing a lot of hiking all of a sudden. So the clothes that I need for those activities are very much different from the clothes I needed from when I was going out. And I showed the pants last week, but I told you about the jacket and the hat, but I didn't have those. So I scoured my wardrobe and I found you the jacket. I mean, this I'm definitely wearing on my next hiking trail. And then, of course, the hat. Yeah, well, is it the other side? No, it is the side. So, Billy, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful work here. I just said to myself, did you a disservice? So I need to put out the whole attire. They will see it in its entirety in the cutaways. Thank you so much. This will be put to good use. I'm actually waiting for the right shoes as well so I can do justice to it. The next thing that I wanted to show you guys is there's a guy named Xavier Zulu. He was part of a collective called the Sartis here in Johannesburg. He left to go work for Adidas in Cape Town. I think he still does work for them. He's the one that seeds a lot of the Adidas clothing to Hash, Big Hash, and Dikuwala, and Busiswa. He's basically like the person that makes sure that the relevant people in the culture are wearing the dopest Adidas clothing. But he also does his own thing on the side, and he upscales a lot of clothes. And he had a launch here in Johannesburg at 44 Stanley, and the launch that he had was of gear from Levi's that he upscaled. Let me show you what I mean. Let's start off with something like these jeans. You know, these had holes in them. These were torn up. So he then got other Levi's jeans and he patched it up and he made it something to wear. Really, really love this. I love what he's done here because it emphasizes the point of you don't have to keep making new clothes from new materials. You can take things that already exist, and it's not called recycling in clothing terms, it's called upscaling. So these are the jeans. Nice fit, like they fit me like a fisherman from Japan. Wide cut, gives me a little bit of a footballer bow leg, comfortable as hell. Feel like I'm wearing a tracksuit. I love these. What he did, oh man, this top, I mean, look at what he did. This was a Levi's jacket, army green. He cut it up, found places where it could just go together, and then he made a kimono / baseball top out of it. He specializes in these. He's got like a gang of these. We'll be showing the clips as I'm explaining to you. Xavier Zulu, the shop is called, I forgot what the shop is called, but you can find it at 44 Stanley, and there's still some pieces that are left over for sale. The last piece I'm going to show you is from a guy named Khotso. He does a label called Peace by Khotso. That's half of the label that he does. And he made this beautiful, beautiful biker checkered winter jacket. The craftsmanship on this, the construction on this, the detail on this, the shape, fit, and form of this. I wore this jacket once and I just could not stop people from complimenting me about this jacket. And when I told them it was South African made, that's when they lost it even more. He has another range he's released of some tracksuits, some hoodies, and some waistcoats, something like this. Peace by Khotso. You can find him on Instagram. He also has another label. It's called Unknown Studios. He does with an artist called Sash. They do once-off pieces where they upscale garments. DZ, just show them the cutaways, because I cannot explain. There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, ngolo hlobo ke asikagqibi, we're giving you some eyewear. DZ, who does these again?
Wednesday.
A lady named Wednesday, am I right? And where's she from? Johannesburg. Okay, we'll put the website up on the captions, but these are beautiful, my lady. I'm gonna give you, watch out! Ow! Okay, all right. I love these, definitely. Are we giving these back, or did you say we can keep them? Next frame. Same frame, different color. And then let's go for the last frame for our eyewear segment over here. What are they called? They're called Bona by Wednesday M. Bona, C, vernacular language. Gotta explain it sometimes. Because don't sleep on a white Indian Chinese, and colored viewers over there. And then this frame as well. I love what you're doing here, my sister. The more of you guys also realize that we have to get dressed in other places other than our bodies. Give us something for our eyes, give us something for our head, give us something for our hands. Socks. You guys are sleeping on socks, and that's one of the most easiest, cheapest things to make that flies out really quickly and can give you great turnover. Socks. Other than that, you have now reached the last thread count segment for this season. I'm going to let you guys produce some more clothing. In the meantime, I'm going to be moving over to something that has really, really captivated me. It's been there for a long time, but it's really springing up more and more in my heart and in my duties as to what I need to do in this urban culture space. And I'm going to start talking about art. I've shown it a lot on my Instagram. A lot of people have been asking me, what's going on? They see me moving into this art space. I'm not moving into it. It's just organically happening. And I feel like it's a great time for me. I'm not an expert in art, but I will be sharing to you and with you some of the artists that impress me. And I will share with you why they impress me. You can find your own interpretation, and maybe if I give you that little piece of place to start from, you can go and spread your wings and find other artists that you're into. I will also urge you guys to start sending us all your art as well in our comment section. But for now, I'm just saying goodbye with the thread count segment. It has been really dope. And I know the brands that have been featured have received a lot of following. So enkosi kakhulu to the brands, enkosi kakhulu to the viewers, and of course, the people that purchase the clothing. Simgil.